Hello and welcome to the Long Island Weather Update and Outlook. It is Super Bowl Sunday, February 9th, 2025, and you can guess by the picture who I'm rooting for. So let's take a look at the weather here. A lot of clouds around today, still a lot of clouds, and you can see some more higher clouds streaming in. So we had a few breaks this afternoon, but let's first talk about the snowfall totals from the storm last night. We did actually do a little better, a little bit more than I expected, just a little bit. But you can see here, Fairfield County definitely getting those higher inch amounts, 5 inches there. Connecticut, obviously, New Haven, 5.2 in Hamden. New London, 5 inches in Old Lyme. Surprisingly, Bergen County actually underperformed a little bit. I thought they were going to get a little bit more, but they only got around 3 inches in Fairlawn. Same for most of northern Jersey. Newark Airport only got 3 inches as well. Bronx, Fordham got 4.6. In Brooklyn, around 3 inches there. Nassau County, the North Shore, again, was seeing those higher totals, so 5.1 inches. And Muttontown, Jericho, 4.9 inches. Hicksville, 4.3 inches. Westbury, 3.8 inches. Doesn't have Mineola here, 3.5, another report, 3.5 inches. As you head toward the South Shore, the numbers come down. Massapequa Park, 3.2 inches. Belmore, 3 inches. Still a little bit more than I thought. I thought it would be closer to 1 or 2 inches, but I was only about an inch off, which is basically 0.10 of liquid equivalent. So really, it's really not a big deal. But Central Park, 3.1 inches. And let's go into Queens. Whitestone, 4.1 inches. LaGuardia, 3.6 inches. JFK, 3.4 inches. And Suffolk County, Comac. So some parts of north central Suffolk, like Comac, 5 inches. Hauppauge, 5 inches. Nesconset, 5 inches. That whole central Suffolk area. That includes the Pine Barrens, the northern part of the Pine Barrens. Ridge, 5 inches. Upton, 4.6 inches. So the Pine Barrens got a good amount of snow, decent amount. Center Reach, 4.5 inches. And then as you head further to the South Shore, this Islip Airport got 4 inches. Sayville got 3.5 inches. East Islip, 2.5 inches, so less as you head to the South Shore. Westchester, also some areas, Westchester got close to 5 inches of snow. And then freezing rain reports. There was also some icing, mainly in Connecticut as well. Central Park, 0.03 inches of ice. Central Islip Airport got 0.10 inches of ice, actually, sleet accumulation. And this makes the snow very crunchy out there. It's not fun to walk in, and I'm going to try to go to the Pine Barrens tomorrow, and I don't know, may not be able to walk too far because of the conditions. Oddly enough, they're reporting overcast with haze in the air, so it's kind of odd that there's haze being reported at Central Park. 35 degrees. It's not all that cold today. Tonight it feels like it's almost gotten a little bit warmer. So let's look at some of the observations. You can see across the country there's some winter storm watches in effect, and we also have a extreme cold watch for parts of Montana. That's the colder, really bitterly cold air that we're going to hopefully get as we go into the extended forecast in this weather update. You also notice some winter storm watches, including Ocean County. So this is with the second storm that's going to be going by to the south of us Tuesday night. It's not going to be more like Tuesday night. And it's trending drier for Tuesday. And you can see some lake effect snow warnings for upstate as well. Still dealing with lake effect. This is something that, again, people say, oh, it's such a cold winter. When I was growing up, lake effect was done by like late January, mid to late January. We didn't have many more. But the fact is the lakes don't freeze over because it's not cold enough. So it's still not cold enough, even though the South had their cold and Florida and all that other stuff. For the northeastern area, really not that cold, New England. I mean, not colder than last year, but not as cold as it should be. Put it that way. So, speaking of that, let's look at our current observations right now. And you'll see it's still 32 at Islip, and the wind is west at 5, and the wind actually went southwest for a little bit this evening. So, if we go and look at some of the observations here, you'll see that we had a southwesterly wind for a little bit this evening. And the winds really, it was breezy, and then the winds just completely died off tonight. And we're just stuck in these clouds, and a lot of moisture. Dew point's not that low, 25. That's not very low at all. So the air isn't that dry at all. Not seeing any radiation or cooling, obviously, tonight with the cloud cover. Temperatures, again, are not that cool. And let's see if this is working. So hopefully this is working again. You can see our highs, mid to upper 30s. across the area. All right, well, some reason, all right, that's weird. So when I move it over there, it doesn't work, but when I have it over us, it does. So lows, yeah, these are the highs generally. Closer to 40 in Jersey. Is that not all that cool? The air mass that we're working with is not that cool. The lows weren't that low either. Not much of a range. Low of 30 at islip for the day. So that's not a huge range in temperature between the high and the low. If we look at the statistics at islip today, high of 36 and a low of 31. That's only 5 degrees. So 2 degrees above normal for the day. We received 0.17 in liquid equivalent. So now, month to date, we've gotten 1.30 of liquid. That 0.17 fell today. So we will go and we will actually go into this and we'll look at the precipitation just to show you how much fell in the past. We'll put 36 hours. Just liquid equivalent here. 0.70 at islip. So they're reporting 0.70. Shirley reporting 0.57. So yeah, around that half inch to 3/4 of an inch liquid equivalent, pretty much for our area. And of course, for Jersey, they also got 0.75, 0.50 around that amount of liquid equivalent. So it is a kind of even though it's not a lot of snow, really, it's very, very wet. I hate that cement-like snow that we get, and it's hard to shovel. And it's going to be even harder to walk in because of that change to sleet. So not the kind of snow I like. I like the dry, powdery snow. But that requires Arctic air, which we don't have. So looking at the weather map, you'll see that we've got a weak high pressure building in. There's a low off the Gulf. This is what's going to be moving up for Tuesday. We'll take a look at our surface analysis. You got a weak high over here and a dissipating cold front up north of the Great Lakes there. So let's go to the models now and take a look at see what we're going to have as we head on into this month. We remain in an active pattern as we head into the heart of February here. We'll look at the jet stream first of all, and you'll see. I'll use the 18Z wind, so you can see that zonal jet that continues this week and that continues the parade of storms, and then we start seeing some more troughing as we head into next week. And that'll hopefully bring in some more Arctic air for us, hopefully. So you see that we definitely see that troughing there, which is definitely an improvement to what we're dealing with right now. With all this really, we're not really getting in. And this is really just Pacific air. It sucks. So, and speaking of that, I'll just go to the changes to Northern Hemisphere for a moment. And we'll take a look at the polar vortex, show you what's going to be happening here. So this is the polar vortex, and you see it's splitting. So once that splits, as we see that split happen, that's a nice split right there as we head right through the month. So hopefully that means we're going to be getting back into the Arctic air and out of this crummy air that we've been dealing with right now. So let's go to the upper air. Where's the and we'll go to the Euro2 as well because there are some differences. All right. So this is the GFS showing that zonal flow and that ridge in the southeast there, just keeping us from the cold air and keeping us stuck in the storm track. But you notice there's some good blocking in Greenland. As we get toward the end of the period, here comes the troughing, all right, that we're going to have. So that's going to hopefully bring down some colder air, though these troughs don't look terribly impressive, I will say. So we'll go to the European next. So here's the European showing that zonal flow. There are some differences from this week, though, in the placement of some of these short waves on the models. But you can see the Euro's even stronger with that ridge. So it could, it's even stronger with that ridge. A little bit of a trough there, and that's the 18Z run. All right, I want to go a little further. We're going to have to look at the 12Z. So the 12Z, you'll see it really starts bringing some strong troughs in. And that'll bring some cold air. Whether that's going to have staying power or not, though, is another story. But there is a good block in Greenland, but then it kind of fades out toward the end. So let's go and we'll pull this in a little more. And we'll look at the surface. And we'll start with the European. And we will go to the 18Z run of the European. So end of tomorrow, you see that weak high building in. And it's weak. I don't know if we're going to have a clear day or not. But you see the next storm here on Tuesday. And it's mainly going to stay to the south of us. You can see that. Well to the south of us. We may get brushed with a little light snow, which is going to be more Tuesday night into early Wednesday. And then the front kind of just sits there for your Wednesday. And then here comes the next batch Next storm overnight Wednesday into Thursday with more rain. This one's going to have more rain to it. Then we see a high pressure, looks like a decent high pressure finally building for Friday into Saturday before the next storm would come. All right, and if we go a little further here on the European, you'll see the next storm tracks to the west, so we're in a rain type situation, maybe even an LLJ type of situation for Sunday. And then we'll start seeing some of that colder air build in. But still, after that, there's another low tracks over us. No big snowstorms in this forecast. All right, no nor'easters. We haven't had one classic nor'easter this entire winter, which, again, is how can you not have one? I mean, we haven't had one. So let's go to the GFS now. So this winter it's not the kind of winter I wanted, all right? I want a cold winter with some coastal storms. We haven't had one. And the cold, we had 1 week a bit of cold, and that was it for January. But anyway, let's get back to the forecast here because there are little differences here. All right, the storm models kind of agree on that storm for Tuesday night, all right? The Wednesday storm looks like the GFS is kind of, the 12Z was a little further south with this, just a teeny bit. This is the 18Z, but I don't think snow will be an issue for our area, but north of us, they could be dealing with some issues with frozen precipitation. Stronger high builds in for Friday, and then our weekend storm, here's our weekend storm, trends over the lakes, and that's rain. And then the cold, that's when you see that big cold high build in. Now, hopefully that's Arctic air. And then here comes the next storm. Again, west of the lakes, LLJ type situation. Arctic air comes in behind it. So as far as getting a classic storm, we haven't seen any coastal storms at all. So it's been really just weak storms passing by to the south. No coastals because the troughs haven't set up the right way. And so we're not really, I don't really think we're going to see any big snowfalls. We may see some small ones, but right now, looking at the way these models look, the snow we got, it may be the only snow we're going to see because of the storm tracks. And right now, that's what it looks like right now. But that could always change. That's always subject to change, especially if we get into some Arctic air. So let's look at our temperature anomaly chart here. So we'll first start with the GFS, and obviously showing us to be a little bit, maybe slightly below normal for tomorrow. Slightly below normal so it's marginally cold air. Look what happens Wednesday. There's some really cold air just to the north of us, but we don't get into it because of the damn ridge. And then you'll see we're going to go above normal a little bit on Thursday, and then we start getting to the colder air Friday, a little bit, and then it warms up on the weekend with that LJ, and then we get into the cold air finally for next week. So we're starting to see a little bit of a break, and then another little bit of cold air, but it's not sustained. There'll be cold air, and then it'll fade, and then it'll, it won't be we're not getting a polar vortex where, unfortunately, like we had back in, we're not going to get a real deep freeze with this kind of setup here, unfortunately. But it definitely looks like it's going to be better. So let's go ahead and look at the European model now, and I'll go to the 12Z for this run. So you see a little colder than normal, and then warm, and then it gets colder again by Friday, seasonably cold. And then we have that warm up, and then that Arctic air comes in, and the Euro's really nice with this Arctic air Monday. Very cold. And then but you see, we get it for one day, and then starts moving out Tuesday, warms up, because, again, the storm tracks are going to the west. So instead of getting snow and staying in the cold air, we warm up and get the rain, and then we'll see another batch of cold Arctic air. But then after that, it looks like it shuts off. So we'll have to see what happens, because you got to remember, the amount of cold air at the poles is less than normal because we have less ice than normal. So if I go to the hemispheric view, which I'll go to on the GFS, you'll see what I mean. Let's do that. Here's the temperature anomaly chart on the hemispheric view. You can see there's not really a whole lot of really cold air up in the Arctic. The air up there is not that cold, and you see a lot of red on that map. So that's the issue that we have. We're not seeing the buildup of cold air because it all boils down to the ice, which I'll talk about at the end of this video, all right? But this is just another sign of global warming, climate change, even though you're going to see more and more people denying it, and because we have an orange monster in the White House ruining our government and trying to ruin the entire world if no one stops him. So, along with Dr. Evil, of course. But anyway, let's go. Then we covered all this other stuff, so let's go take a local look at our short range here on the HRRR 0Z. And tomorrow will be dry. You'll see that. But we will look at some soundings here. Let's start with let's do 16Z. Yeah, see how close those lines are together? That's very close. So I'm worried about cloud cover for tomorrow. See if it's any better over Jersey. Not really. So in the morning they're probably, but those lines are close. And then as we get toward 18Z, you'll see what happens as we get toward 18Z. Yeah, they're pretty much touching over Long Island and probably New Jersey too. So yeah, the air is not that dry, so getting clear. Especially at the lower levels, the upper levels it is, and the mid levels it is, but the lower levels we got just a very Pacific type air mass, not really that cold at all. So let's go into Tuesday here, and you'll see here Tuesday we're dry now most of the day Tuesday. So Tuesday, if you have plans for Tuesday, it looks like we're going to be dry. Originally I was like, oh great, I don't know if I'm going to even be able to go out. We may have rain, we may have snow, but right now it's looking like hey, Tuesday's going to be dry. So the system is slower, and it's a little more to the south. This is as far as we've got on the HRRR for this next system. All right. So we'll look at our dew points and wind flow. Now, any precipitation we will have with that system will be snow because of its track and because we will have colder air. But you'll see the dew points really aren't that low tomorrow. They only drop into the 20 degree, which is not that low. So we're dealing with really modified Pacific air. This isn't really a great air mass. And then you'll see here Tuesday, you still got the light north winds. The dew points drop a little more. And then the winds start north, and then they shift a little off to the southwest again. So it's weird having a southwest wind. With the storm to our south, you think we'd have a northeast wind, but we have a southwest wind on Wednesday. So, and I was surprised about the southwest wind tonight. That wasn't supposed to happen. So here we go on to tonight. Not going to get all that cold tonight. You see how originally we thought it was going to be colder. Now we're probably going to have lows in the mid to upper 20s. It may actually be above normal. Then tomorrow you can see it doesn't really want to bring the temperatures up. And the HRRR has been doing this a lot where it's been underestimating the temperatures. I think it will wind up getting up to the mid to upper 30s. But it is trying to hold the temperatures down, perhaps because of some cloud cover, especially in the afternoon. As we head into tomorrow night, it does tend to get colder a little bit tomorrow night. And it's saying temperatures will get down to the teens. I don't know about that. Maybe if there's radiational cooling but elsewhere, I think it'll just be in the low to mid 20s. And then Tuesday, again, we'll probably get to the mid to upper 30s again. So, or at least mid 30s. This is what the HRRR is showing. Now I'll take you to the GFS. So here we go. GFS. Let's go dew points and wind flow. Or we'll just look at the temperatures first. See if this is any different. Not really. So it's holding the temperatures down, but it's not having a big range in the lows and the highs, which indicates to me that there's a lot of cloud cover around. All right. So looking at our dew point and wind flow, and I'll show you the Arctic air a little bit here. You can see that it goes just to the north of us on Wednesday. So frustrating. And if we were up in Plattsburgh, it would be very, very cold and very nice. And, forget about having to shut up and go live in New Jersey. You might have to shut up and go live in Plattsburgh. Look how cold it's going to be there. Or it's going to start off like 17 below, and then it's going to make it only to the teens. That's what I'm talking about. But we're not going to see that. You'll see here, and then you'll see that for Thursday, we're probably going to we're going to be above freezing. The storm pretty much tracks right over us. You can see the center of it track right over us. And then behind that, Friday, it'll be a decent, hopefully a more decent shot of colder air, but it still doesn't show the dew points dropping all that low. So you see here the temperatures, still has the temperatures not struggling to make it to the freezing mark, despite those dew points not being that low, which again leads me to believe we may be dealing with clouds again. I swear I am tired of these clouds. I want a sunny, cold, crisp day. I mean, when I was a kid, we had those all the time in the winter. But anyway, let's get back to the forecast, all right? I gotta hang in there because as we make it further along here, after dealing with the warm air, now it's next week. That's when we start dealing with the Arctic air. Arctic air comes down, and you see those dew points drop and those temperatures drop, and we'll start dealing with temperatures that won't make it out of the 20s. All right, which is more like it should be. But then you see how brief it is. It's in, it's out, and then yeah, you can see it's very transitory in nature. All right, I can look at the European as well. With this, show you the same deal here. You'll see that yeah, they got that cold air. It's in, but then it retreats already. The European looks a little bit more optimistic for the cold. We'll have to see, but hopefully we get into a deep freeze, though. Who knows if we'll see the Bay freeze again? Probably not. I mean, I wanted to see it, too, and it only lasted a week, and I never got the chance, and now who knows? Who knows when I'll get to see it. So let's look at our precipitation, our next storm, obviously, on this. So I'm going to go to this. Yeah, remember, it's outside of the realm of most of the short-range models, so we have to look at the longer ones. So here's your storm for Wednesday. You can see the European has it tracking off to the south there a little bit. So that, if we look at the total snowfall, this doesn't do total snowfall. I can only just show you the total accumulated precip, but you can see the heavier precip seems to be mostly south, and we don't really see much precipitation at all from. All right, it does bring it in a little more toward the evening. So you see a little more precipitation toward the evening. And you might actually get up to a half inch to maybe even an inch of liquid equivalent on the Jersey Shore if they get a lot of snow from this, which they need badly because they're still in this drought. All right. So let's take a look at the GFS now. So here's your storm on Wednesday, and again, mostly staying to the south here. A little bit of it comes up north. Euro is like a little bit wetter with the liquid equivalent on that one, I notice. This one looks drier, at least looking at it right off the bat, and it is. You can see that. Keeps most of it off to the south. And total snowfall, let's see, we got here total snowfall. We barely get anything, and even Toms River would only get 3, and the higher amounts would have to be more toward Atlantic County and Cape May County. That is the GFS, all right? Now the icon, all right, don't have that 0. We can look at the 18Z icon, see if the icon is even lighter. So icon not even generating that much snow for this. And I don't have any other models to look at right now. So that's all we have with that storm, all right? I'll go back to the second one. I'll go back to GFS here, all right? And then the second storm on Thursday is going to be a rain deal. So it might start as snow, but then it's going to be rain. And that is going to be out of here by Friday. So if we look at the total snowfall on that, it's showing a couple of inches. Might be a little over that. It's showing both storms together. We can let's do 24-hour accumulated precip on this second storm. You get an idea. That one could be, again, give us perhaps a half inch to an inch. None of these storms are going to be like real heavy storms. It's not until we get toward the weekend storm. That one, you can see, has got a lot of precipitation with it. All right. And that would be, again, not snow. The snow would be to the north. Here's that storm on the GFS. You can see that. We'd be in the rain for that one. All right. So most of these storms look wet, not white. The only storm that could give us a little more snow, I think, would be the Tuesday night and the Wednesday event. But it won't be much for us. It's going to be mainly down the Jersey Shore area. All right. That will have that. Now, let's look at our skies next. And we'll go to the GFS for that. So there's a lot to cover here. So here we are looking at the skies, and you'll see showing a lot of clouds for tomorrow. Or actually showing some more clouds in the morning, showing less toward the afternoon. But given the way this air mass is, this is the satellite. You can see all the clouds that we're dealing with here. A lot of clouds in this whole air mass here that we've got, even up to the north. And they all seem to be moving over us. So we'll look at the larger satellite view here. You can see what we've got. The good air is over here, North Dakota, South Dakota, or way up in Maine or eastern Canada. So close this down, might as well. So let's go back to this. So obviously, after tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're not going to see the sun probably for 3 days. All right. And then by Friday, should clear it out. We should see the sun back again. And then by the weekend, we'll have to deal with more clouds. And then when the Arctic air comes in, hopefully we'll be dealing with some nice sunshine. Maybe we can actually manage to have 2 nice days on a row here. Maybe next Monday and Tuesday would be nice. So that's, of course, a week away. And I don't run running cloud models that far out because they have a strong tendency of being wrong. So let's look at the RGM. Actually, have two. We'll look at the old one first here. So this is the RGM for tomorrow. RGM showing, of course, the RGM is showing barely any clouds. Maybe underestimating it, all right, for tomorrow. We'll have to see. You can see, according to the RGM, it would be clear now, all right? So, and that's obviously, that didn't happen. So it's really underestimating the cloud cover for tomorrow. And then Tuesday, we'll be dealing with those higher clouds, high and mid-level clouds in the system passing to the south. Wednesday, well, we'll be stuck in the clouds, but maybe if you're way up north, you'll have a clear day. And then I'll go to the 0Z and see if it has changed anything for tomorrow. Because this is way off. This is a 0Z. Yeah, I mean, it has it clear. I mean, we got a deck of StratoQ over us. So this is way off this model. Let's go to the NAM. Here's a 0Z NAM. This one's a little more, still not showing the clouds that we have. So NAM showing us some clouds off to the south, but it's really off with the clouds. Again, really just off the cloud cover. I mean, why? I mean, this is, we're doing the weather update. It's around 03Z, and it's showing that it's clear over Long Island. But if we look at the actual current satellite, you'll see we're fairly socked in with clouds. So I don't understand why it's doing this. So we may expect more clouds tomorrow than expected. I'm hoping at least we'll have a couple of hours of clear sky. It's mainly going to be probably in the morning, up into the afternoon, because I'll show you what the HRRR cloud display has, and I think that one's the most accurate. And then Tuesday, obviously, we'll be dealing with more clouds. And in fact, because I just got the latest NAM in, we can look at the storm too as well. So let's go ahead and do that. Obviously, it's going to show just part of it, but you can see the NAM takes it to the south, but it is a little bit closer, which could give us a little more snowfall. And again, this is just one model, but let's see if we can take a look and see how much you have. So it could give us a couple of inches, and if you're in Toms River or Ocean County, you might get 5 or 6 inches, and it's you're just going to have to see. That's why they have that winter storm watch. There's a chance they exceed the 6-inch mark. That's a winter storm warning, which we haven't seen many of, especially for Jersey, and that's an area that really needs it because they're in a real drought situation. All right. So I think we pretty much looked through everything here. So let's go to the Ventu Sky site, and we'll look at the cloud forecast for tomorrow. Even this is showing clear. All right, let's go ahead and look. So 8 a.m., it's showing a bank of clouds off to the south. 9 a.m., the clouds are still kind of hanging out there. And then by 10 a.m., it's finally pushing offshore. 11 a.m., looks like we're clear. 12, and you can see it starts building some more clouds toward the afternoon, especially over Long Island. Over Jersey, not quite as much. Still has some, though. So we're going to have to watch for this stratocumulus development because I think that this could be an issue with all the low-level moisture that we have around. You saw the soundings. Those lines are close together, and it's not going to take a lot for those temps to get convective temperatures hit. But we do have the snow cover, which might help a little bit. We'll have to see how it turns out tomorrow. But that's really going to be a best day if you want to see the sunshine, because otherwise Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to be stuck in the clouds for a while. I don't think wind is going to be an issue until we'll talk about that as we get toward the next storm system. I don't think this storm system is going to generate wind, but as we get toward Thursday, that one might. That one might. We'll have to keep an eye on that. So let's go to the Climate Prediction Center now. At least there's some good news on this map because we do have us in the blue, which is below normal temperatures. So that indicates colder air, but above normal precipitation because, again, that active storm track continues. And then 8 to 14 day, they have near normal on the precipitation, but still below normal on the temperature. So it does tend to get drier as we get toward the later part of the month. But right now for this week, we're definitely in that wet pattern that we have. So let's lastly go and look at the... let's go ahead and look at the ice thing. And sea ice climbs to second lowest January. So here you go. Second lowest January. Arctic sea ice continued to hover near record daily lows during January, with the ice edge well north of its long-term average position in most areas. In contrast to the cold conditions dominating the contiguous United States, much of the Arctic experienced above average January temperatures. So that's what I'm saying. The cold air is not all that cold, not as cold as it should be, or as it normally would be. And this is the Arctic sea ice extent. Look at that. We are down at the bottom. So that's not a good sign at all. This is a big problem, and this is why I'm talking about it. Nobody else wants to talk about it, especially nowadays. It's bad to talk about climate change, but this is what's going on. Because you got to remember, yes, we've had a lot of cold in the south, but when you average everything out over the whole northern hemisphere, it's above normal, the temperatures. So, yeah, average it out. That's global warming. All right, you may not particularly be above normal, but the globe as a whole is, and it continues to warm as we continue to experience the climate crisis, and it's only going to get worse. So anyway, I guess I'll wrap up this video with let's just go ahead and take a look at the Super Bowl score. I don't normally do it, but let's go and take a look at what we got right now. The Eagles are winning 40-14. Yeah, the Chiefs are getting creamed. I love it. I love it. They thought they were going to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. You're kidding me? That's arrogance right there. Fly, Eagles, fly. Finally. Thank you. I think the Philadelphia's got it. It's almost over. The Eagles, they are the top predators in the sky and on the football field, too. So that is going to wrap it up. Have a good night. And this picture, by the way, was taken at Sanssouci Lake back in 2021. But that was great to see. I've seen bald eagles, but they've been too far away for me to get a nice, clear picture like I did this day. But wow. That's our national symbol right there, and a reminder of what's really important in this country, and we got to take our country back from this the orange turd. So that is going to wrap up this video. Have a good night. Thank you for watching, and fly, Eagles, fly.